Hello, and welcome to another episode of Light Reading. As always, I'm your host, Light. Our first manhwa is I'll Make You a Superstar, a modern manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 27 on. The main character of I'll Make You a Superstar is Woo-hyun, a depressed individual who was previously the manager of a top actress. After a visit from his friend, Woo-hyun resolves himself to start anew by creating Pine Entertainment and hiring a promising young actress to manage. From here, he looks forward to the future while being cautious of the effects of his past. Its potential is 8 out of 10. One thing I omitted from the synopsis is that there's a slight element of fantasy in I'll Make You a Superstar, as Woo-hyun actually has the ability to predict fortune to a certain extent, but it's only for others and not himself. Other than that, the future of the company and Woo-hyun, considering the situation that he's now starting in, keeps me invested. The art is 6 out of 10. While it isn't anything to write home about, the art itself does an adequate job of portraying the emotions and story of both the people of the manhwa and the project that Woo-hyun's company involves themselves in. If you're a fan of the modern genre but would like more of a background-centered perspective of the celebrity professional life with a tinge of potential romance, then keep your eye on I'll Make You a Superstar. The next manhwa I wanted to bring up is The Night King Who Returned with a God, an action manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 62 on. Its main character is Leon Lionheart, an individual from Korea who reincarnated into a fantasy world filled with swords, magic, and gods. Leon was actually able to become the king in this world, but demons came in and destroyed it. Through his faith, amazing strength, and unbending will, he proceeded to fight these demons for hundreds of years, only to be discovered by Koreans who went through a portal to his world? Now, Leon must adjust to Korea again and work to prevent the invasions of demons in it. Its story is 6 out of 10. From the chapters I've been able to read so far, the story is still setting its foundations. Why do portals or gates exist within Korea? Why is this system a thing? How did Leon survive for so long? These are just some examples of unanswered questions that have me both intrigued and wanting for more. Its characters are 8 out of 10. The main characters and side characters have very amusing relationships that make me smile from ear to ear. In a number of cases, I end up actually enjoying the side characters more than Leon himself. I hope this continues as the manhwa progresses, as personally, my favorite character is still Sir Spinning. The art is 8 out of 10. The action scenes are very intense, and the portrayal of the overpowering nature of Leon compared to others is astonishing, while the downtime scenes give a much needed break from the action. If you're a fan of the action genre and want to focus on humanity's struggle against existential threats, while also having elements of fantasy, recovery, and faith, then give The Night King Who Returned with a God a read. This next manhwa is one that I've been personally enjoying its representation of magic, and that is The Infinite Mage, a fantasy manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 65 on. Its main character is Sharone, a commoner in a fantasy world divided by social class. Being naturally gifted, Sharone is able to learn things that others might have a harder time with. Due to some fortunate events, Sharone is actually able to attend the Magic Academy, where his growth as a mage truly begins to shine. Its story is 8 out of 10. The Infinite Mage has a very amusing hook with introducing some of the characters that we would see in the future. This kept my attention due to its delivery and speed at which Sharone was exposed to it. In addition, with the growth of the students almost mimicking our own in studies made me chuckle, and it is linked to my enjoyment of the story overall. The characters are 8 out of 10. The characters who were part of the hook and the ones after are a source of enjoyment for me in The Infinite Mage. They provide Sharone with differing opportunities to grow, whether in magic, social life, or growing as a human being. Each relationship feels so important to his future. The art is 9 out of 10. It's an interesting presentation of magic, honestly, as magic in The Infinite Mage is based on mathematics. The further you're able to understand mathematical equations and their meanings or solutions, the more you're able to grow as a mage. This unique take on magic and its representation as endless space is honestly mesmerizing. So if you're a fan of the fantasy genre and want a more magic-focused world with a gifted main character and a mathematical-based representation of magic, then take a look at the Infinite Mage. Before we get to our next entry, this is a spoiler warning for the following two manhwas and their chapters. Pause here and read the chapters before proceeding, or if you enjoy being spoiled, let's get into it. Welcome to the villainous manhwa, Villains Are Destined to Die, where I've now read from chapter 123 to 149. Since chapter 123, there have been a number of revelations that caused a stir in how the story was going to go. Considering that it seems that now Yvonne has another agenda other than reuniting with her family, things are taking quite a turn. Opposite of her, Penelope is becoming more and more obsessed with how the world is seemingly progressing like the game instead of allowing her a way out. Even her relationship with the Crown Prince is wavering. At this point, I feel that Penelope is actually starting to become pathetic, an emotionally sad sight to see. From episode 4, my scores were 10 out of 10 for story, 9 out of 10 for characters, and art was also 9 out of 10. The only one that changes from these would be the characters, as Penelope being clotheslined by Eccles' actions and ignoring the multitude of others that actually care about her, it brings the score slightly to 8.5 out of 10. I'm eagerly anticipating the culmination of the current arc and really hope the outcome goes in Penelope's way without her completely being hated as a main character for me. My opinion hasn't changed much, as Villains Are Destined to Die is still one of my personal favorites. Although my favorite character in its current state is actually the Crown Prince, oddly enough, as his shift in attitude towards Penelope was gradual instead of immediate. I feel for him in the most recent situation though, with a pathetic version of Penelope too. Our last entry is the continuation of Home Plate's Villain, a sports manhwa that I've now been able to read chapters 20 to 30. Since chapter 20, there have been some developments that now have me somewhat hooked on it. Jimmy has been called up to the major leagues. Bin Hong has to prove himself to be a required player as he brings out their pitcher's abilities well, especially Jimmy's, and then gets called up to the major leagues after. The actual hook, however, is when Bin Hong asks the fairy, what does the fairy get if Bin Hong either succeeds or fails in getting 3,000 hits within the major leagues? The fairy is suspiciously quiet about it. My previous scores were both 7 out of 10 for its potential and art. From the events over the last 10 chapters, I would keep art the same as it still has the same vibes that I was talking about last time. For the potential though, I would actually elevate it by 1 point as the inclusion of a potential motive for the fairy's attitude towards Bin Hong is now put into question instead of being an already determined fate. I look forward to what this story may now hold, considering the fairy may or may not act within Bin Hong's favor. What will be Bin Hong's future now that people are starting to see his worth? Will he stick with Jimmy or end up being a battery with another famous pitcher in the major leagues from his first life? I can't wait to see more. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Write in the comment section down below what manhwa and manga you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.